Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to The Conversation. I'm your host, Roxanne Grace. Guys, today we are talking with Kevin Hines. You don't want to miss it. So sit back, relax, and get ready for this conversation. As always promised, I will bring my guest in just a moment. But first, I'll remind you guys, if you haven't already, like and subscribe to our channel. Check out our social profiles at Dream Label Group. Check out our website, dreamlabelgroup.com. There you will find a mailing list. And if you join that mailing list, you will be some of the first to hear brand new music from Dream and receive updates about our awesome show. Also, guys, we want to welcome all of our podcast listeners. Welcome, everybody. If you don't already know, on our website, you will find a link to subscribe to our podcast. We are pretty much everywhere. You can find us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Google Podcasts, and so many more. Go check that out. Also, guys, on our website, we have merchandise. We have several things up there. I know in the new year, we're going to be adding to that. Also, you can see that we have Dream Christmas Volume 5 up there. If you guys don't have your hands on that, you need to get it. It is so inspiring. It is so joyful. It is so Christmassy. I absolutely love it. And I know that it is 50% off for the rest of December. So go get that if you don't have it already. All right, guys, my guest today jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, California, and lived to tell about it. Now his life mission is to save as many people as possible. Let's bring in the man himself, Kevin Hines.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing well. I'm so grateful to be here. This is going to be fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I'm so stoked. Like, I've been stoked all week to talk to you about this and just like pick your heart and pick your brain. I know we only have a half an hour together and there's so much I want to kind of jam into here. Thank you for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule to have this conversation with us today.
You bet. Glad to.
Awesome. So, okay, let's maybe just dive right into it. Your story is crazy. I know I've seen it all over the place. I've seen it on CNN and Fox and several other shows. Like, tell me what happened September 25th, 2000.
Well, 20 years ago, September 25th, I attempted to die by suicide from lethal emotional pain. I believed I was useless. I felt I had no value, and I thought it was my only option. I was wrong. Life was worth living. It is worth living. There are ways to find hope in your darkest of hours, and suicide never has to be the solution to your problems because it is the problem. And so many people around the world right now are dealing with suicidal ideation, especially in times of COVID. You know, Japan just came out with the numbers that in the month of October, there were more suicides than in the entire year of people dying of COVID. So it's plaguing nations around the world. And it was no different for me on September 25th. I really felt alone, surrounded by a sea of people who love me. And I went to the Golden Gate Bridge and I jumped. And against all odds, I survived a 220-foot plummet at 90 miles an hour, close to the speed of terminal velocity in a 4-second fall, praying the entire way down that I would live.
Wow.
And when I hit the water and I went down 70 feet in the water and I was drowning, I thought, this is it. This is my end, and I don't want to die. I don't want this to happen. And I swam as fast as my arms would take me. I shattered my T12, L1, and L2 lower vertebrae into shards, and I missed severing my spinal cord that day by 2 millimeters. I broke to the surface, and I kept going underwater. I couldn't stay afloat. I said, God, please save me. I don't want to die. I made a mistake. God, please save me. I don't want to die. I made a mistake. And I just kept repeating that in my head and aloud, even when I was above water, the certain times that I was. And my prayers were answered. Something began circling beneath me. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. I did not die off the Golden Gate Bridge and a shark is going to eat me. I was freaking out. I'm trying to punch this thing, but it won't go away. it's just now circling faster and faster, and no longer am I wading in the water to stay afloat. I'm lying atop it being kept buoyant by this creature.
Wow.
Well, it turned out it was no shark at all. I would be on a television program a year later promoting a suicide prevention campaign. And on this show, I would say I thought there was a shark beneath me. And people wrote into the show when it went viral online from all over the world. And one man's letter stuck out above all the rest. His name was Morgan McWard. And he said he was on the bridge that day with his mom, actually. And he said, Kevin, I'm so very glad you're alive. I was standing less than 2 feet away from you when you jumped. Until this day, watching this show, no one would tell me whether you lived or died. Wow. It's haunted me until now. By the way, there was no shark, like you mentioned on the show, but there was a sea lion. And the people above looking down believed it to be keeping your body afloat until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind you. And you can call that what you want, but that's my miracle.
Come on, it certainly is a miracle. Wow. Let's backtrack a bit. I know I've watched several of your interviews, and I just believe that there was some crazy divine intervention and timing here. So let's maybe talk. I want to talk about how there was a lady that you met on the bridge. But even before that, you were, a young man at this point, and you were sitting on the bus. And I've heard you say that basically you had convinced yourself that if one person would just check on you and say, hey, are you okay? Then you wouldn't have gone through with it. Is that correct?
That's right. I had made a pact with myself, which is very common for suicidal people to do. And the pact was this: if one person says or does this, I will. And if one person says or does this, I won't die today. And my pact was, if one person says, hey, kid, are you okay? Brother, is something wrong? Or pal, can I help you? I would have told them everything and begged them to save me.
Wow.
But sadly, on the bus that day, as I yelled aloud on a crowded bus filled with people to the voices in my head, leave me alone. I don't want to die. Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you? The only person to react aloud was a man to my left that said to the fellow next to him, while pointing at me with his thumb, with a smile on his face, what the hell's wrong with that kid? And so there was complete apathy from the bus goers and no empathy. And that's not their fault. The human condition is usually not necessarily to, I believe we're all here for a reason. I believe we're all here to help other people. That's my belief system. That's my faith in God that I have, that tells me that we're here to give back, and that's our sole purpose. But, when people see someone unwell mentally, their first inclination in general is not to help. It's to be fearful or apathetic. And I think that we need to change that shift, that paradigm, and shift people's personal narratives to help them recognize that if they see someone crying on a bus, that it's all of our duties to say, hey, are you okay? Because you never know how far that simple remark could go. It could literally save a life. It would have saved mine.
Wow. So then you're on this bus and you're just inside crying out, hoping that somebody would respond. But when you get to the bridge, you saw a lady walking towards you, and you thought, this lady is coming to save my life, basically. And then what happened at that point?
I had picked a particular light rail. I've been walking back and forth for 40 minutes. Bikers, joggers, tourists, runners, police officers searching for suicidal people went by me twice. And I picked a particular light rail. I'm crying my tears to waters below. And this woman approaches with a smile on her face. I think, oh my God, this is it. This lady's going to save me. I don't have to do this. I don't have to die today. And listen, maybe she was trying to show me something beautiful and I missed it. Maybe there was a language barrier. She had an accent, Eastern European accent. And she said, will you take my picture? And I thought, oh, how can you not see the pain I'm in right now? But that was, she had these giant sunglasses on. Maybe she didn't see it. Maybe she didn't recognize it, and that's fine. That's not what happened next. Was not any of her fault at all. It was just, it happened to be the one person that could have made that difference.
Right.
Saw what she saw in a different way. Her perspective was different, and that makes sense. So when she said, will you take my picture? I really lost all hope in that moment. And she walked away, and I said, absolutely nobody cares, which was the furthest thing from the truth. Right. I believe, in fact, that she cared. I know my family cared, my friends cared, my acquaintances would have been there to rip me from that rail to safety because how much they cared. I couldn't care because my brain was trying to kill me as I was trying to cling to life.
Wow.
If you think about it, Had the woman not stopped me for that moment in time, had nobody stopped me for that 5-10 minutes of me taking her pictures, I don't believe the sea lion would have been in the position it was to save my life in the first place. If you think about the trajectory of where the sea lion may have been swimming prior to, those 5-10 minutes might have cost my life. Right. And so there was a purpose to all of this. As a matter of fact, there was even a woman who was driving by in a red car who saw me go over the rail, called her friend in the United States Coast Guard. And the reason the Coast Guard got to my position in the water before I would set in hypothermia and drown, a 3-minute window, was because of that phone call. And so right after the sea lion kept me afloat and took off, the Coast Guard boat arrived. But the only reason they did in the timely manner they did was because of that woman's phone call. So all of these things came into play to save my life. Wow. The Coast Guard officers were phenomenal. One of them, Marcus Butler, was a 4-year, spent 4 years at the Coast Guard at Cavallo Point, right there outside of San Francisco on the marina, on the bay, and he would spend 4 years his career in San Francisco, and he would see 56 dead bodies that in those 4 years, all from jumpers off the Golden Gate Bridge, and one live one, me. And I think that knowing that, meeting him, having him be a part of my film Suicide: The Ripple Effect, the documentary that came out a couple of years ago that we made, having him be a part of that was amazing. It was beautiful. And he says something at the end of the film that I'll never forget, and I hold dear to my heart. He says, "Kevin, you've come a long way from under the Golden Gate Bridge." He made it clear that I've done good with my second chance at life, and I really appreciated that. It meant the world. And he was one of the people that helped pull me out of that water and save my life. And then we got to the hospital, and one of the foremost back surgeons on the West Coast happened to be there that day, and he did a 10.5-hour back surgery on me that replaced my shattered vertebrae with titanium. And that's the singular reason I get to stand, walk, and run today. And only 5 of the 39 Golden Gate Bridge jump survivors get to stand, walk, and run. They call us the most exclusive survivors club in the world. There's a book with the same name by Ben Sherwood. 98% of those who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge never again get to tell their stories. So I feel very blessed, very lucky, and very thankful to be here with you right now.
Wow, praise God. This is a beautiful, miraculous story. Kevin, there are a lot of people that will come across this program that will so identify with your story and what you've been through. But there's also people that will come across us that have never felt that struggle, emotionally, or had suicidal thoughts before. What would you say to a person that's never experienced that? How should somebody respond when they see somebody in that moment? And what is it like for a person that is struggling, so that people that don't know that feeling can kind of relate?
I think if you don't understand what it's like to feel suicidal, or to feel those thoughts, imagine you feeling like your whole world is crumbling before you. Imagine feeling claustrophobic when there's no walls surrounding you. Imagine feeling that you have no other option but to take your life because of severe depression or anxiety or an eating disorder or whatever the case may be. When you find yourself in excruciating physical pain, what do you want that pain to do?
Well, you want it to stop. You want it to end.
You want it to go and you want it to end. Mm-hmm. Brain pain is arguably 300,000 times worse than any physical pain I've ever experienced. And that's what people go through when they're suicidal. An immense, overwhelming, overbearing, back-breaking amount of brain pain. And it's lethal emotional pain that leads people to suicide in all walks of life, all around the world.
Absolutely.
And that lethal emotional pain can be stopped. It can be changed. It doesn't have to be fluid. And even if you live with regular thoughts of ending your life like I do, you can always survive that pain. You can always survive it. Suicide never has to be the solution to your problem. As I said before, it is the problem. I realized that today. This is what happened to me at the Golden Gate Bridge. I went over to that rail, and I had an instantaneous regret for my actions. And I thought, this is it. This is where I die. I thought there was no other way. Right. Here I am surviving that fall. I don't wish that on anybody else. Don't learn the hard way like I did. Mm-hmm. Take the time to see someone next to you, around you, before you, and say 4 simple but effective words when you're suicidal. I need help now. And if the first person you turn to is unwilling to help, you turn to the next until you find someone willing to empathize with your pain. I have lived now 20 years with suicidal ideations on a regular basis, but they'll never take my life because I always say those 4 words, I need help now, to someone or anyone who's near me. And every time I've said that and repeated it until someone was willing to guide me to a straight place, a good place, a hopeful place, then I've been here. I've been here tomorrow and every day after that. And that's how I stay alive. Suicide will never take me. I know that for a fact. No matter how bad it gets, I'll always ask for help. And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It is your greatest strength.
I love that. I actually have heard you say that. Well, I know that your wife is truly like a rock to you, and all you have to say to her is those 4 words, I need help now. But there's been times too that, sometimes you're thousands of miles away from her, you're traveling, and you also in that same, predicament where you need help immediately. And I've heard you say that you've turned to TSA officers at airports and random people. Like, I love that you're so not ashamed and you're so real and raw and vulnerable to just say, hey, like, I need help now, because what could happen if you didn't reach out, right? So I think that's, yeah, go ahead.
I'm not ashamed to ask for help from anyone.
Come on.
Because I have become what some call self-aware in my diagnosis, which is hard to get to. It's not easy. I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1 with psychotic features by 3 different doctors. Whether or not you want to agree with that label or not, that's up to you. But that's what I've been diagnosed with. Both my biological parents, as I'm adopted, were diagnosed with the same thing in their day. Manic depression is what they used to call it. And wherever I am, I will ask for help. Yes, I was in the airport. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I called several folks, just because life situations, couldn't get a hold of anybody. And I stopped the TSA agent and I said, listen, I need your help. I'm going through it. Obviously, I didn't make my flight that day. But they did help me, and they were there for me, and they got me to a safe place. And we eventually got a hold of my wife, and I was physically safe from myself. Just a year and a half ago, I was back in a psych ward for suicidal ideation, but I walked to my wife and said, I need to be in there or I won't be here. And here I am today, getting this ability to talk to you because of that. Had I died that day, we wouldn't have this conversation, and we wouldn't be able to impact the people that are going to watch this show.
Come on.
And we hope to have a massive impact on them and let them know that they're supposed to be here until their natural end. And you may have heard me say this before, but I'll say it here now. And I want your audiences to really take this in, because you're alive and well today. Even if you're having a hard time, you're still alive and you're still physically well enough to watch this show. If you're considering suicide, I want you to think about all the children who never made it past the womb. My wife and I know that pain. Our boy Jack Ryan lived 8 weeks and no more, but he wasn't intended to be here in physical form. You all are, for the simple fact I'm looking through this lens. You're seeing my eyes. You can look back at me, and I know you're supposed to be here until your natural end, never to die by your hands. It's not the answer. The answer is fighting tooth and nail and putting in the hard work to be mentally stable. And it's not impossible. It's entirely within your reach.
I love that. I think it is amazing advice not to isolate ourselves. And so whether somebody, I'm not a professional anyway, by any means on this, but I have worked with teens and young adults for many, many years. And I've met a lot of people, a lot of hurting people, like yourself, you've met a lot of hurting people. And I feel one of the greatest enemies is isolating ourselves, whether it be suicidal thoughts, emotional in some way, depression, feeling thoughts of rejection, loneliness, or whatever. And I find that when people tend to isolate themselves is when they start to buy into those lies that no one cares, lies that they're alone, lies that nobody understands. We all have struggles, and people need to know they're not alone. There's people all over the world going through the exact same thing, that the challenge that they're going through. And so I love that you encourage people not to isolate, that you encourage them to, even if they have to go to a stranger, just let them know, like, I need help now. That's amazing advice. You were just touching too on, advice for people that are struggling. And I want to ask you this, Kevin, truly, what specifically would you say to somebody that is struggling right now with suicidal thoughts?
I would look them in the eyes and I would say, stop, breathe. In 4 seconds through your nose, out pursed lips like a whistle but no sound, through your mouth for 8 seconds. In 4, out 8. Repeat that 30 times. Bring your brain and your mind to a calm. Take a few minutes and stay exactly where you are. Don't move. Don't move from your position. Put any means you have near you to end your life on to the side. Call 3 to 5 people in succession until you get someone willing to empathize with your pain. Tell them you need help now. Ask them for help. Text the crisis text line. Text CNQR to 741-741, the crisis text line. They'll be with you in seconds. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255, +1 for military. Do everything you can to keep yourself caught up so you're not taking action on that suicidal ideation. Recognize that suicidal ideations are the greatest liars we know. They tell us what they want us to hear based on every hurtful, spiteful, and hateful thing that's ever been said or done to us. We internalize all that stuff since childhood, but we don't have to let it defeat us. Let your pain instead build you brick by brick from the ground up. Your pain is inevitable. It's coming for all of us if it hasn't already, but you don't have to suffer. We get this narrative from suicidologists and clinicians that if we have a diagnosis of mental illness, we are sufferers. But that's a narrative they placed on us that we adopted. I adopted it. I used to write and blog and vlog about suffering from this and suffering from that. But I realized later in life that if I call myself a sufferer, then I become the victim of my own story.
Wow.
But if I remove that word and say I'm living with bipolar disorder, I'm battling bipolar disorder, and I can thrive with bipolar disorder, then I decide to be the hero of my own story instead. It's all about the language we use to determine our perspective on life. And if we look at life as a terrible, dark rabbit hole of hell that we can't get out of, then we won't be able to get out of it. If we've been abused or neglected or put down or teased or hazed or bullied, and we allow ourselves to become sufferers and not the heroes of our own story, then we are the victims. But we can choose to change that perspective and be better off for it. I went through so much in my life. My birth, I was born to biological parents on drugs and alcohol who had mental illness. My brother died at a very young age. We both got bronchitis, the same disease, and he died right next to me. You know, I was in and out of foster care, but I got lucky with a beautiful family that adopted me and made me their son, made me a Hines. And I will tell you that just because you're born in pain or you live in pain right now, it doesn't mean that's the rest of your life. So stop, breathe, take your moment in time and beg, plead, and grasp for help because you deserve it. You are worthy and you matter.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Honestly, I praise God for the mission that you said yes to and the sacrifice that you've given literally to help change so many lives. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much to you and your wife. It's incredible. It's incredible when I see the impact that your life is making. What are you guys up to now? I know you mentioned that you have the documentary out, Suicide, the Ripple Effect. In just a second, we're actually going to show a trailer for that. What else are you guys up to right now?
Well, Suicide, the Ripple Effect has been out now for, I think, 3 years. It was made by myself, my wife, Greg DeCherry, and his wife, his former wife. And we made that film to instill hope in people. And you can go to suicidetherippleeffect.com if you want to license that film or share it with people around the world. Next to that, we are working on a docuseries called The Journey. And that is about my life story and traveling the world and meeting people that have written to me that the story saved or changed their life. So we're actually meeting people all around the world who have said that this story saved their life. I don't own that. I don't take credit for that. I'm a conduit. I tell stories. People relate to them, and they go home and do the work, and they save and change their own lives. But that's how they feel. So we're going to sit down with them. Actually, the premise of the show is pretty fantastic, because a lot of the folks we talk to won't know that I'll be there. They'll be interviewed, but they won't know. Well, I guess now they know. But
now they know.
Now they know. But nonetheless, it'll be out there, and it'll be helping a lot of people. And then we're working on a comic book version of my life called Hope Dealers, and that is going to be put straight onto Amazon. So that'll be made available for everybody.
This is so exciting. Okay, we only have a few minutes left together, but real fast, I do want to show this trailer. So let's go ahead and show it right
now. Are you okay? Is something wrong? Or can I help you? Those were the words that I desperately wanted to hear right before I catapulted myself over the rail. I have now lived 15 years past the day I should have died.
When you see a lot of mental illness being expressed, that's a clue that the culture is sick, not the person.
Hey, brother.
Hello, Kevin.
You were the first person to ever say, Kevin, you should talk about this.
Our guest, Kevin Hines, plummeted 200 feet but survived.
Today, I traveled the globe spreading a message of hope. Why? Because we know it helps people heal.
There's a huge opportunity as we talk about stories of survival to support people who are out there who are in pain.
I break down on a regular basis. I have symptoms every day. I still have hallucinations, both auditory and visual.
Families of those who jumped from the iconic structure urged to stop the suicides.
One person goes to this bridge to die every 7 to 10 days. I think it's our obligation to stop it.
You go to Paris, go to New York, you go to Istanbul, there are suicide barriers. The more people that know about the horror of that bridge, the more pressure will be put to do something to stop it.
Will this really decrease suicides, you think?
They say things like, why ruin the aesthetics? What are the aesthetics of a bridge compared to one human life?
Kevin Hines, there's no telling how many lives were saved by you because you weren't able to take your own.
Let's get to that place that nobody is being brave who talks about their brain disease. They're just being honest.
My name is Kevin Hines, and this is my story.
Wow, that's powerful. Kevin, honestly, thank you so much for what you're doing. We desperately need people like you that are willing to sacrifice everything to be a voice for those that need to hear it. Thank you so much. How could somebody find out more about you and your organization, or even ways to partner financially or through prayer?
They can contact us at kevinhinesstory.com if they want to partner with us. And then we have a foundation as well, the Hines Foundation. And then they can go to youtube.com/Kevin Hines to find 400 videos, all designed to help people change their lives. We're always looking for people to help us sponsor those videos so we can create more all the time. We've got letters from people as far as Peru, Africa, China, Japan, and America that say that these videos saved their lives. So we really want to be able to scale those and share them with the world.
I truly feel like I cannot thank you enough for what you're doing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Kevin, for taking time out to have this conversation with us today. You're a true blessing, a very, 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 very huge blessing to our generation. So bless you, brother.
Thank you very much. It means the world. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Kevin. Guys, that's all the time we have today with Kevin Hines. Please get your hands on that documentary and pray about partnering with his foundation. He is making a difference in so many lives. Also, guys, I just want to reiterate too, please, if you need help, reach out immediately. Reach out through a hotline, a friend, a pastor, somebody. Just as Kevin said, tell somebody, I need help now. I know the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 800-273 8255. Again, guys, you can always contact us. We would love to connect you however we need to. And we love to hear from you guys. You know, if you ever need prayer or just suggestions for upcoming programs, guys, we just love to hear from you guys. It's always a blessing when we do. And again, you can reach us at dreamtheconversation@gmail.com. Until next week, stay blessed in Him, and we'll see you then. Hey guys, Roxanne Grace here. Thank you guys so much for watching Dream's YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single conversation or new music from Dream. And if you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the like and notification buttons and share this video with a friend who needs to hear it. Oh, and don't forget, you can subscribe and listen to the conversation anywhere podcasts are available. Thanks for watching.